Good evening, Chicago. Welcome to another Friday night edition of Chicago Corner. I'm your host, Jerry Vasilatos. Once again, dealing with computer issues on this end. I hope it doesn't interrupt our show too much. But to avoid dead air, I am going to bring on my co-hosts and colleagues for the evening. Let me just get something set up over here. All right, got that going. And Mr. Kid Cabello.
Cheers and salutations. Still here at the studio.
Okay, and Ed Heller.
Still here at the home studio.
Thanks, guys. I really hope we have a smooth show this evening. Computer works all day long. Then as I get the show ready in Chrome, everything starts slowing like molasses, reboots, resets. But at least I got you guys here to pick up in case I lose a signal. I just wanted to kind of like be upfront about that. I hate to have to start a show like that, but I just have not had any time to take my laptop to the Mac shop for them to take a look at it because there's just too much going on. So we'll try to meander through tonight's show without incident. And thank you guys for joining me tonight. Kit, we had an interesting Tuesday this past week, didn't we?
Oh, my goodness, we did. There was a big collaboration effort from Harlan's Media, Chicago Corner, and to our additional studio, 99 Perspectives. Kind of a big day. Now, look, I know I don't want to give too much away because, again, you're in charge of the show. But I have to say, and I think it's only fair for you to reveal it, the event that we went to and what this could potentially mean for 2023, at least this election cycle for Chicago politics.
Well, it's not really secret anymore. We know that Jamal, friend of the show, Jamal Green, and let's see if I can share the screen here. There we go. Friend of the show, Jamal Green, who we had all hoped would throw his hat into the race. And why is the screen showing on that end?
Yeah, it was showing on that end. It was there.
And now it's not. Stand by, everybody. Let's share that screen one more time. Oh, all right. There we go. He announced that he is throwing his hat in the race for Chicago mayor. Now, I have two videos to run that we can then open up the discussion after this. Well, first of all, this is really good news, I think. Of course, he's already got his detractors, as we expected. But I want to show his announcement video, his announcement promo, actually, as it were, his video that was released on social media this week. And then we're going to go into some coverage from, I think it was ABC7, Marianne Ahern, how she interviewed Jamal. And I, as a media professional, I kind of want to walk you through that interview and just demonstrate how some quote-unquote journalists stack coverage in an interview against their interview subject. But let's start with Jamal's campaign announcement.
All right, let's play the video.
Running it. Come on, man.
But unfortunately, it's the most corrupt.
Here we go again.
It's time for new leadership to take us into a future we can all believe in. My name is Jamal Green, and I'm not a politician. I'm you. I'm a father who loves Chicago, and I want a better future for my kids and yours. I grew up on the South and West Sides, and I personally witnessed gun violence.
Guys, I feel like I'm going to have a Bill O'Reilly moment.
I can make it to
Well,
the age of 21.
Hold on. Before
just
we
like
have a
lot
Bill
of our youth
O'Reilly
today.
moment.
If you want, I can try and play it from here, Jerry.
Yeah, can you do that, please?
Yeah.
Mentors
give me
have
one
put me
second
on the
here.
right path.
Let's
After
go to
being
his
kicked out of
campaign video
9
that's on
schools,
YouTube,
when
not the
schools
link
didn't
in
have
the
resources
show notes.
to give me the
Okay, I got his one from
attention
Twitter. It
that I
might be a
need.
little lighter band.
That's
So I
the one.
dedicated my teenage years to
Screen.
making sure you felt heard, even as to put the guns down
All right.
Chicago can be the greatest city in the world, but unfortunately, it's the most corrupt. It's time for new leadership to take us into a future we can all believe in. My name is Jamal Green, and I'm not a politician. I'm you. I'm a father who loves Chicago, and I want a better future for my kids and yours. I grew up on the South and West Sides, and I personally witnessed gun violence, hoping that I can make it to the age of 21, just like a lot of our youth today. Mentors helped put me on the right path after being kicked out of 9 schools when schools didn't have the resources to give me the attention that I needed. So I dedicated my teenage years to making sure youth felt heard, even as the Put the Guns Down ambassador for the city of Chicago. While so many lost hope, I've always known in my heart that our city can be better. I fought the largest bank in the world, forcing them to give back $1 billion to redline communities. During the pandemic, I've invested and raised millions for small businesses to stay afloat and help create new homeowners. I've mentored dozens of youth, diffused gang rivalries, traveled the country pushing progressive initiatives, taking action, and getting results. My experiences make me uniquely qualified to lead this city. It's time for someone who isn't leading for themselves, but leading to make an impact on the next generation of Chicagoans. And that's why I'm running for mayor of the city of Chicago. I'm prepared to lead this city into a brighter future on my first day in office. We will cut gun violence in half. We will create 10,000 new homeowners each year, get rid of the property tax escalator, put a tax freeze on city property developed within a year, and we will champion Universal 3K, where we will provide high quality education to students as young as 3 years old in every zip code. We will modernize city government with new technology, open up wellness centers to address our mental health crisis, and accelerate our efforts to save our environment. I'm not asking for your vote today. I'm asking you to participate in a movement composed of people like us who've been let down by politics and want to see a future we can all believe.
I think he cut himself off on this thing because it was 2 minutes and 20 seconds is the limit on Twitter. But
Oh, for Twitter? Yeah. Okay.
yeah. But,
All right. Let's.
yeah.
Let's. I sent to you in the private chat, Ed, the clip, and actually it's NBC Chicago, Marianne Ahern.
Okay. All right.
Well,
Let me grab that.
Okay.
All right. See if I can. Okay.
Now I know how Bill O'Reilly felt, and now I don't find that video as funny anymore.
We're doing it live or something. All right. Here we are.
Jerry, when you get your new computer, you and me, let's do everything we can to demolish your old computer.
Okay, and this pre-roll ad that you're not supposed to see is brought to you by Flavor Improving Mugs, the mugs that improve flavor. So hang on a second, and I will back this up a few ticks. With the sound.
There are now 8 candidates running. Today, activist Jamal Green announced that he's in. This time, he says he's leaning on the Harold Washington playbook, and he wants to register thousands of new voters. Our political reporter, Marianne Ahern, spoke to Green about his plans. Marianne?
Allison, Jamal Green will turn 27 years old in August. He's an entrepreneur, a community activist. 4 years ago, Willie Wilson challenged Green's signatures, and Green dropped out of the race for mayor then. Today, though, he believes this time there's a path to be Chicago's next mayor.
70% of people don't vote, and that's a problem.
To
Huge
encourage
problem.
voters, Jamal Green has his own bus, ready to get out his message as he looks to reach out to younger voters.
We are going to borrow from the Harold Washington's movement. We're going to register thousands of young people.
We got to hold each other accountable, but we got to hold our leaders accountable to change the conditions of these neighborhoods.
As an activist, Green has led protests upset with crime, police misconduct, and economic injustice. He was also charged with battery to a police officer in 2016.
Oh, come on.
Safety is the issue.
Yeah,
of
that's
campaign.
probably.
Hold on, wait.
That's
Hold on.
bogus.
Ed, can you pause it there for a second?
Yeah.
All right. Some of these other politicians that are right now running in the Chicago mayoral race, they got skeletons in their closet too. They're not so squeaky clean. All of a sudden, what, they bring that up? Oh, bull. That is a quick way to smear him. That is a quick way to automatically make him look bad in front of the media. That is a hit. That is a direct hit. And that was purposely done. That was a smear.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see who NBC decides to give glowing praise to when they start profiling the other candidates.
I wouldn't be surprised if they start giving glowing praise to Lightfoot, but then again, knowing how unpopular she is, I mean, there could be something that could kind of derail her campaign. Maybe something like what happened to Rahm Emanuel. I don't know. I mean, personally, I don't want to see her get reelected. But here you have a clear smear.
Yeah, for sure.
So you know, again, how's that going to be perceived to voters? I mean, again, look, the last election cycle, very few people turned out to vote. I mean, Lightfoot's lucky she even won, that she even got that landslide victory, because not a lot of voters turned out to vote for mayor in 2019, especially during the primary portion of that. Let's play
and then of course, who's that smear really aimed at? You know, in their audience too. Is it the people who probably don't want to vote for him in the first place? So why are they even wasting their time?
Exactly.
With police, they are a support system. We must attack the root causes in a mass way.
Do we need more?
You want me to back that up a second?
Support system.
Yes.
We must attack
Of this campaign.
Public safety does not begin or end with police. They are a support system. We must attack the root causes in a mass way.
Do we need more police?
I think that we need to refund the communities.
There are now 8 official candidates, including Mayor Lightfoot.
That was an interesting twist there.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I'm back.
Yeah, because he just if you're just joining us, Jerry, Jamal in the interview says, "I think we need to refund the communities," which of course was a play on defund the police. So he got out ahead of that one.
Did you notice how Marianne made sure to bring to attention the fact that he was arrested while he was protesting?
Yeah, Kid called that smear out in 3 seconds.
That's the stuff that I wanted to point out. I don't like Marianne Ahern, okay? Because every time she does an interview, she's got an agenda. And it couldn't be more clear than in how this particular interview was edited. You know what? Talk to the candidate. Don't start bringing up bullshit from the past that is irrelevant to what's happening right now. Because you know what? Whether he was arrested protesting or not, it's irrelevant. He was protesting, and he was protesting for a reason.
Hey, Jerry, I have legitimate reasons to be upset with Marianne. When we were filming in 2018, when Bernie Sanders was endorsing Chuy Garcia, I'm interviewing the candidates. It's quite clear, Daniel behind the camera, me with the microphone, interviewing candidate right now, right? She walks in front of the shot, not once but twice. And she looks at the camera, like, Daniel caught that. He's got the picture. And I'm just looking at her like, You're supposed to be the professional. You're supposed to be in this business like I am. You know I'm interviewing. She walked in front of it, and she looks directly at the camera too, smiling with a goofy smile. Sorry. I had to get.
No. That's all right. She is the queen bee. She thinks she's the queen bee of Chicago media, and maybe she is because she's a veteran, right? But that does not dismiss the fact that she's not an objective reporter. I don't think. She goes into every interview with an agenda. Now, if Jamal had been, I don't know, charged, or it was proven that, he did something, what do you want to call it? If he had, what is it when you take money from an organization you're working with? If he'd embezzled money, like some of our aldermen have, okay? If he'd been convicted of being caught in a wiretap, that's legitimate stuff to be like, you might want to question this guy's integrity or lack thereof. But nothing Jamal has done has anything to do with a lack of integrity. If anything, he's one of the few candidates that I've seen that's actively engaged in getting involved in the community to make change. You know, I've said a couple times in the past, I worked on Amara Enya's campaign last election cycle, and I liked Amara. I think she fumbled some things in the end. But in hindsight, I don't know that Amara did anything that much for the community as Jamal Greene has. And when they cite he's 26 years old, how much experience does he have? I counter how, with all the experience some of our established politicians have that have fucked things up so badly, you don't think that's a liability for the experienced politicians who are part of the system? Here's a young man who is engaged in the community. He's giving back. He's doing a lot. He knows what people in the community's issues are. That's why he's running. They want to make it seem like it's a liability when his active community engagement has actually helped him put together a list of what priorities should be for any candidate that's entering the mayoral race that wants to actually affect change for residents across Chicago.
Agreed.
You want to watch the rest of that?
Sure.
Yeah, I'll watch the rest of it.
Okay.
Communities.
There are now 8 official candidates, including Mayor Lightfoot. Green believes leadership style is key.
How are you going to collaborate with people? How are you going to connect with the community to solve the everyday problems? How are you going to make sure people know that you're listening?
You gonna sit here and lie about this youth center?
Green has openly criticized Lightfoot, and he believes
So
that
what?
led to the mayor killing a project Green pushed for, a youth center in Auburn Gresham.
Right now, we may be at odds. We just got a letter from the Speaker of the House backing it. We just got a letter from the Black Caucus backing it. I spoke with the governor to back it as well. And we'll do what we have to do to work with the state to get that facility so that we can build this center.
Jamal Green says he will be competitive financially and has many donors who are supporting him, not just locally, but also nationally. Marianne Ahern, NBC5 News.
Thank you.
Ooh.
Marianne A-hole.
She brought that up. Like, again, they didn't need to, there was no significance in that interview to bring up him assaulting a police officer. How many of these aldermen have
And you know what? Was it really a self kit, or was he basically trying to fend off a police officer who was trying to shut him up at a protest?
Yeah, more
Right?
than likely it was probably just a false charge.
Yeah.
Well, every time he's been charged for protesting, he's beat the rap. They've dropped it. So
Yeah, because First Amendment,
yeah,
they keep
right.
forgetting
So-
that. They're like, we have the right to protest, guys. You just like you want to set time and place restrictions until people just stay home. That's not how it works.
Now, Kathy Powers in the live chat says that she was there and that it was a melee. I'd like to know more about that.
A melee.
Melee. I don't know if
melee. Yeah.
melee.
So,
Yeah, if a cop's involved, it's usually the cop's fault. Well, I'd like to know more about what you witnessed, Kathy. If Jamal instigated it or if the police officer instigated it. I mean, I don't know, man. I think at these protests, whatever happens is reactive to what police force is being thrown around. But that's just my speculation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, gentlemen, any more thoughts on Marianne's interview or Jamal's announcement?
I think it was scummy, and the way she just perceived that, Jamal just somehow assaulted somebody, which again, it's not true. Sorry, I don't want to say not true, but it's just like it serves no purpose in the interview to find out who he is. Like, talk about his policies, talk about what he's going to fight for, talk about why he's the candidate to represent Chicago. Why should he be mayor? Don't bring up like that kind of stuff. Like, if anything, that's like a direct low blow and short-sighted. Not short-sighted. Sorry, I'm stuttering all over the place. Had a busy day at a studio, but it's just it's like a low blow, and it hits his reputation.
Right out of the gate, they're hitting his reputation. They're not looking at his proposals, and he has. I mean, I wish we could play his announcement speech at the rally. Unfortunately, I know it's going to throttle me and I mean, it went for a while. People can find it on his social media, on Twitter. I think we also linked it from our Chicago Corner Twitter. People can find his full comments. But yeah, man, it's like right out of the gate, they're going to try to smear him. They're calling him a grifter for his My Turn to Own program, claiming he's peddling subprime mortgages, which he's not. We actually covered his My Turn to Own seminar last year, and it's on our channel where you can, specifically or directly listen to how the program is designed to help residents with lower incomes or limited means get into an affordable mortgage program that's, not going to, bust the bank and get them into home ownership as opposed to renting and not building, something for their future, for their families. We're going to be seeing it all over the place, guys, whether it's Jamal or some of the other candidates that, they don't want to see run. Although I think that there's going to be big targets on Jamal. Another thing that I shared with one of his campaign workers at the rally that we attended when we live streamed it. Clearly, Jamal's priorities are on the south and west sides. They need to be, because they've been very, very much neglected. I think more neglected than other parts of the city. And I'm waiting for Kathy Powers in the live chat to disagree with me, but I'm going to say that I think the south and west sides has been more neglected. However, I know that in trying to bring a focus to south and west side problems, the mainstream media is going to try to marginalize him as just being a candidate or reformer who's only focused on the south and west sides as much as they need priority. And what I shared with some of his campaign workers is that he's really going to have to, and maybe he has a strategy in place for this, but he's going to have to really focus and win some hearts and minds on the north side in, let's just be blunt, the whiter neighborhoods. He needs to build a bridge with that, and there's no reason he shouldn't be able to. No, I think he's going to represent all of Chicago's interests, but they're going to marginalize him as the South Side agitator when that's not what he is.
Well, I think even in his speech from his rally, he brought up north, south, east, west like we do. So I don't think it's completely outside of his thought process to make sure that he's covering the entire city, but clearly anyone who's been paying attention knows that there's some inequality and inequity on the south and west sides that need to be addressed, and so the whole city needs help. He may focus on equity at the front end of a mayoral run, and rightly so. There was a story. I know this is just one tiny little story, but just how they talked about how there were less trees on the south side than there are on the north side. Did you see that story?
Yeah.
And it's like, more trees gives you more shade. It just improves your entire environment, and without having those, it turns your part of the city into like a small dust bowl, right? It's not great, and it's an easy fix for the city to invest to make sure that the plant life across the city is equitably distributed and not just placed in a gentle circle around the Bean and Millennium Park.
Gentlemen, refresh my memory because I was having that login issue. During the Ahern interview, did he mention the lack of registered voters on the south and west side?
Yeah, he did mention that people don't turn out to vote.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like I thought that this was the interview where he talked about that, because, and that's why I'm like, he's got to really also focus on winning hearts and minds, if you want to use that phrase, on the north side, because if he can't get more registered voters on the south and west sides, which traditionally, sadly, have not really turned out to vote, for all of his good intentions, it could be a very, very difficult upward struggle, to get people out there to vote for him. So I wish him the best. I think we all wish him the best. As far as I'm concerned right now, he's got my vote. And I hope that as they go into debates, he will really have his opportunity to shine against a lot of these other establishment candidates who, with all of their experience, have still managed to fuck everything up and not really provide anything of value or progress forward for the citizens of Chicago, as I'm going to talk about in this next story. I'm not going to bring the screen up because I don't want to suddenly lose my signal. Perhaps you can, Ed. It's Lightfoot spared near certain defeat on vote to raise speed camera ticket threshold.
Yep, I got that one.
Yeah. And who am I talking about? I'm talking about Alderman Scott Waguespack.
Oh, hey.
Who, for all of his quote unquote progressive credentials, decided to simp for Lightfoot during the city council meeting. City Council Finance Committee, to allow Lightfoot to keep the thresholds where they are for speed camera tickets. Further, again, what's the word here? Making it difficult for motorists across the city, punishing motorists across the city for these low speed camera ticket thresholds, forcing them to endure that. So let me get into this article. Mr. Experience, Mr. Progressive, Scott Waguespack. City Council Finance Committee was poised to force the mayor to stop. They were poised to force her to stop issuing $35 tickets for going 6 to 9 miles per hour over the speed limit. So, when I go through these zones, guys, and I have to hit the brakes to get to 20 miles per hour, it's like a turtle's crawl. And I know that if I'm going 30 or a little bit over, I still have the ability to brake if some idiot decides to run across the street in the middle of the street as opposed to at an intersection where there are traffic signals, right? Mm-hmm. So this is clearly a revenue grab. So
for sure.
The issue is $35 tickets for going 6 to 9 miles per hour over the speed limit. Mayor Lori Lightfoot was spared Thursday from a humiliating political defeat. What would be humiliating? So why would it be humiliating? She should be humiliated for it. At the expense of speeding drivers blamed for a rash of recent injuries, accidents, and fatalities on Chicago city streets for going 5 to 10 miles over the speed limit. Alderman Scott Waguespack of the 32nd abruptly recessed the finance committee he chairs when it became clear that the votes were there to force the mayor to stop issuing $35 tickets to drivers caught on camera going between 6 and 9 miles an hour over the speed limit.
WTF, Scott?
Right? And I used to be a fan of Scott's until I saw this story the other day.
What the hell?
Alderman Anthony Beale, one of Lightfoot's most outspoken city council critics, has tried for more than a year to raise the speed camera threshold. He wants $35 tickets for going 10 miles an hour too fast and $100 tickets for speeding 11 miles over the limit. Fair enough.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yes. Well,
at least it's a compromise. No, it shouldn't be 100. It should be 50.
Make it 15 if you're going to. I mean, at least do some incremental stuff here, since you guys seem to be used to doing incrementalism everywhere else.
I'm not going to disagree with you, Ed, but I think there are so many Karens out there. Oh, they're speeding. You're going to hurt somebody. It's like, that's not what these cameras are for.
They're for revenue.
With fines that extreme. It's not about, hey, this is a little reminder. It's about, hey, we can fucking pick your pocket, and we're going to say it's for the children, like Rahm Emanuel used to. Do you remember when Rahm Emanuel's motorcade was like running red lights, and he said, well, we paid the fines.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, well, whether he pays the fines or not, Kit, then it really wasn't about safety. Because if he claimed it was about safety, and he's still running the reds and claiming he's paying the fines, then I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, it's not really about safety. It's about revenue.
Yeah, but I can do whatever I want, and it doesn't matter anymore because I'm in Japan, sucker! See you later.
Well, going back to the article, on Thursday, Beale, whose argument might have succeeded sooner if not for a series of parliamentary maneuvers and other stalling tactics, was poised for victory after a 2-hour hearing on the speed cameras. That's when Waguespack abruptly called off the roll call vote and recessed until 2 p.m. Tuesday. The chairman cited many questions his colleagues had asked that needed to be answered. Beale didn't buy that explanation. The administration wants time to twist people's arms to vote against the ordinance, Beal said. They were working the phones while we were in the committee. He vowed to spend the weekend working the phones himself in hopes of getting drivers the break he says they sorely deserve. Near the close of the 2-hour hearing, Beal told Transportation Commissioner Gia Biaggi and her top aides, the argument that you are all trying to make this is about public safety is totally, totally disingenuous. It's all about revenue, and we know that.
Ding, ding,
Quote,
ding, ding.
I wish my residents could write off the $35 time and time again, Beal said, but these cameras are impacting the people who can least afford it. That's just totally not right. Alderman Susan.
Yeah, that's what? That's like 5 gallons of gas right there. $35.
Yep. Alderman Susan Sadlowski Garza of the 10th, Lightfoot's handpicked chairman of the Committee on Workforce Development. We can take the article down now, Ed. Said the pandemic has turned driving on Chicago streets and expressways into the wild, wild west. But, she said, I don't believe in speed cameras, never did. They prey on people. It doesn't change the way people drive. I have one camera that generated over $1 million in a 6-month period. It's not making people go slower. We don't have any traffic crashes around where the cameras are at. I have more traffic crashes on 130th where there's no camera at all. Budget Committee Chair Pat Dowell III also supported Beal. We need to right size and correct the things that are wrong in the system first before we start adding to it by lowering the ticketing threshold, Dowell said. Mayoral challenger Roderick Sawyer of the 6th said, it's really difficult to try and legislate against bad driving. We need to eliminate the 6 to 10 mile per hour threshold and continue to work on traffic calming and other things that we can do to get people to slow down to make sure that we have a safe city. Lightfoot's 2021 budget assumed $68 million in additional revenue from the enhanced fine enforcement initiatives. Lest we forget, do you remember what Lightfoot campaigned on as the progressive reformer when she ran for mayor? Regarding
Get rid of them red lights. Oh, I remember that. I remember a lot of things Lightfoot said, and she never did a single thing. Petridge Farms remembers.
Well, kid. I was thinking about getting rid of the red light cameras, and I was all for that until I realized how much of a huge cash grab. I mean, safety situation that it is. See you later.
All she's trying to do is plug holes in her budget. The lower threshold for speed camera tickets was chief among them in regards to the additional revenue. The city council also had authorized Mayor Rahm Emanuel to take that action, but it didn't happen. Lightfoot made it happen, generating an avalanche of new tickets up to 1,000 a day by one estimate. The mayor has repeatedly defended her decisions to lower the threshold as imperative to keep communities safe. She's Rahm Emanuel 2.0, but 6 inches shorter. She's 6 inches shorter. Though it contradicts her campaign promise to unwind the city's addiction to fines and fees that fall more on the backs of low-income people. Unlike fines for non-moving violations that did fall disproportionately on black and brown Chicagoans and drove people into bankruptcy, people have control over whether they speed or not, Lightfoot said then. The signs were very well marked. No, they're not. No. Lane Tech High School over on Western Avenue. You see the 30 mile per hour zone, and it says there's a camera, and literally within a half a block behind trees, you see the 20 mile per hour speed drop for the high school. Okay? They do this all over the place. They camouflage where they put stuff. Oh, now my screen is, I can't see comments. Ed, I'm going to let you
I can do that.
Rotate in the comments, man. This is just so frustrating. I apologize. I'm getting a little bit anxious here because of my tech issues.
Power says my keyboard just turned British. I have to reboot. I don't know what that's about.
Ilhanner says, yeah.
Lightfoot brought to you by billionaires. Vote our troll out. You mean vote out the leprechaun?
It's my hope that people will take this as an opportunity to check their speed because we can't afford to have more people injured and more lives lost. Before sparing the mayor defeat, Waguespack pleaded to maintain the lower ticketing threshold. Thanks, Scott. His argument mirrored that of Biaggi, that at a time when pedestrians in general and children in particular are being mowed down in Chicago streets, it makes no sense to take a tool out of the city's toolbox. Don't you love when they use their little toolbox phrase, their little toolbox metaphor? It's one of our tools. It's one of the tools in our toolbox. Last year, 174 people were killed in traffic crashes in Chicago, the most in a decade. The attitude out there on the street of disrespect to police officers, disrespect to parents who are trying to walk their kids across the street. I'm sorry, this is Waguespack quoting. If it takes speed cameras to slow them down and hit them in the pocket, then so be it, Waguespack said, because we can't put in enough speed bumps. We can't put in enough bump outs to really change their behavior overnight. Fuck you, Scott. That's what I got to say.
Gotta love these politicians.
Now, meanwhile, as far as generating more revenue for the city, let's pull up this Block Club Chicago article, and I'll read from it. At least let's put the picture on screen.
Okay, hang on a sec. Oh, that one.
Yeah, the boots.
Oh boy, here we go.
Okay.
I'm waiting for the. Okay, here we go. So while you get that up, this comes to us from Aaron Haggerty of the Daily Line. Vote to expand car booting citywide delayed by the committee. Car booting is currently only legal in about 2/3 of the city's 50 wards. An ex-alderman is lobbying to expand the practice.
Which one?
Joe Moore, ex-alderman Joe Moore. Yeah, let's boot his car.
All 4 tires.
Let's
Somebody
just
make
leave
that happen. Oh wait, I'm not telling you to do that though. I'm just joking. Wink.
Let's just leave the picture up while I read from the article. We don't need to scroll through it. The City Council Committee on License and Consumer Protection delayed 2 votes that had been scheduled for Thursday, including one on a controversial proposal to legalize car booting citywide. Almost immediately after the committee's Thursday meeting began, Chair Alderman Emma Mitz announced that a proposal from Alderman Ariel Raboyras to expand the legalization of car booting to the entire city would be held in committee. Raboyras appeared on screen alongside Alderman Chris Taliaferro and did not question Mitz's decision to hold the measure. Car booting is currently only legal in about 2/3 of the city's 50 wards. Raboyras said he introduced the measure to expand the practice at the direct request of alderman-turned-lobbyist Joe Moore. Joe Moore used to pretend he was a progressive. Joe Moore is one of Kathy Power's favorite aldermen, and I know that she'll probably share some of her Joe Moore experiences in the live chat. So he's a lobbyist trying to get more boots across the city. He was an alderman, pretended he was a progressive. Now he wants to further punish and make it harder for people who need their cars to get to work so they can pay these obscene tickets across the city and generate more revenue.
Is he a car boot lobbyist, Jerry? Does he have a stake in one of those car boot manufacturing companies?
Well, of course he does.
Probably
that's why he's requested it.
By the way, people, you can go on YouTube and look for how to remove a boot, and there's a lot of really smart people out there who know how to do that. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just saying it's there. It's information. It exists.
Car booting is currently only legal in about 2/3 of the city's 50 wards. I just said that paragraph. Sorry, guys. Guys, do me a quick favor. I can't type in the chat because my keyboard's going to lock me up. Mm-hmm. Just let me get through a passage that I'm reading from before commenting, because then I lose my place, and it's just a little bit frustrating. Alderman Daniel Laspada has led a charge against booting and has said he plans to work to defeat Raboyras' ordinance. Nearly a dozen aldermen joined Laspada in his attempt to keep the ordinance stuffed in the City Council's Rules Committee last month. Separately, on Thursday, Mitz held in committee a proposal from Alderman Anthony Napolitano that would allow aldermen to set local moratoria on the issuance of retail tobacco dealer licenses, similar to the way the City Council can set and repeal local moratoria on liquor licenses in specific areas. Now, Napolitano explained that his proposal would allow aldermen to look at where in their communities you have too much tobacco or you have too much vaping sold, and you can place a moratorium in those areas. This gives you the ability to advocate for your community when you have 5 or 6 vape shops or tobacco shops opening up on one business corridor, Napolitano added. Why should that come under the purview of the alderman regarding what businesses can or can't open? As long as there are rules in place to make sure that minors aren't in those shops. I don't understand why they feel that they need to put a moratorium on any kind of small business. I mean, they've already been doing it with the cannabis dispensaries and making sure, to favor big businesses that can open them as opposed to the smaller businesses that might want to open a cannabis dispensary in some of these neighborhoods. It just seems like city council and these aldermen have too much power regarding who they're going to allow to open up a small business in the neighborhood. If there are laws in place to protect minors, and they're enforced from going into these vaping and tobacco shops, that's really all that they need. What do you guys think?
I'm a little torn on this one.
Why so? Well, all right. I mean, it's fair. You're allowed to be.
On one hand, if you're talking about just having a small business that's competing with another small business, if you have a certain number of those within a certain range or a certain vicinity, like how much competition becomes detrimental to all of the businesses involved.
Well, let me ask you this: when you've got all of these empty storefronts and people trying to find businesses to rent their storefronts to,
I don't know. I mean, what if you had let's say you had a tiny little strip mall thing with four business unit buildings in it, and each business had its own little New York slice shop in there. Now, I would say that most of the residents of Chicago would be okay with a single slice shop, but 2 slice shops, okay, you got some friendly rivalry there. 3 slice shops, it feels like an invasion.
Do you think a landlord would allow 3 slice shops in a strip mall that they owned, as opposed to trying to get some variety in there?
I don't think so. I think they would. And so what you're saying is you don't think the aldermen should have a say in that decision. You think it should just be the retail strip mall.
I think that they should dictate Well, I don't. Okay, so the retail strip mall guy is different from a block of storefronts that are empty all the time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an individual landlord and you want to rent to a specific business, that should be your right. I would imagine a landlord that owns a strip mall is not going to rent out all of his shops, all of his vacant properties to, a business that's specific to, like your example, like pizza, or in this case, like vaping or tobacco shops. I just think that the aldermen have got, it just stinks to me, Ed, as far as how are they going to exercise their judgment? Is it going to have to do with, which business is going to curry favor with them? You know what I mean?
I can definitely see conflicts in that way. I guess it just matter. It depends on what exactly should they have control over as far as what businesses can and cannot do in their wards. Where do you draw the line?
Well, as the article says, what Napolitano added, which I think is bullshit, this gives you the ability to advocate for your community when you have 5 or 6 vape shops or tobacco shops opening up in one business corridor, Napolitano added. Now, a business corridor is a long stretch. We're not talking about a strip mall, which I think, okay. I understand your example, Ed, and that makes sense. Of course, you're not going to want 6 of the same kind of businesses in a strip mall. But this is not that, at least from my understanding. So Mitz said she held the proposal because she would like to include in the discussion representatives from the city's Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection to work along with partners as we look to see what they have already on the books and how they can implement and enforce this ordinance at the time. All right, so Napolitano agreed with Mitz on holding the measure for a better discussion. Then they went into the liquor licensing. And the article kind of then veers away from the booting issue. Downtown liquor licensing. Members of the committee on Thursday also approved a proposal to allow bars and restaurants with patios to serve alcohol until midnight in the city's central business district. I think that's a great idea. I think that they should be allowed to serve liquor till midnight. Riley described his proposal. Yeah, I think they should go later. Riley described his proposal to extend the operating hours as an annual exercise and noted the extra time for restaurants to operate is incredibly valuable following the pandemic. Agreed. Well, they did something right. We've not received an overwhelming number of complaints about the program, and therefore we are introducing our annual ordinance to extend these hours for the remainder of the season, Riley said. All right. What are people sharing in the live chat here?
Let's see.
Kathy Powers, as long as they pay the rent, it's hunky-dory.
Let me scroll up for that one. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Are strip malls like strip clubs? Asking for a friend.
I wouldn't have a problem with a strip mall having 6 strip clubs in it. Now that's something I wouldn't have a problem with, but that's just me. All right. So
Power sees lots of bribes. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's pull up the next story, Ed. I'm waiting for my browser over here to refresh. It's about Bally's. It's a Block Club Chicago article. Yeah, Kathy, I see a lot of bribes. That's what I sense says the potential to happen there.
The one. Wait.
So that's okay. I can start talking about it before it pops up. But this is something, we all witnessed last month how quickly the Bally's deal was shoved down our throats. And when I read this article that comes to us from Melody Mercado at Blog Club Chicago today, it kind of answers the question to me why it was rushed as fast as it was. Why? The city receives Bally's $40 million upfront payment for Chicago's first casino. The money, which was a major factor in making Bally's the front runner among 3 finalists, will support the city's pension costs. So, Fix was in, had a deficit to fill. Let's put the casino deal through as fast as we can because we need that $40 million upfront payment to plug holes in the budget, or at least in the pensions. The promised multi-million-dollar payment to make Chicago's first casino a reality is in city's coffers.
I think this is such a bad idea.
Of course it is. Let's not scroll through it as I'm reading. Find a picture. We just want our viewers to be able to look at something as I'm sharing the article.
Sorry, I was just trying to read along.
Okay. I didn't realize.
I can open another window.
Yeah. This is what frustrates me about not being able to control my screen here, is like to manage the show without barking orders at you, which I don't like to do. It's just there's a way I like to stream things out and roll things out, and
it's cool. I got it.
Okay. So Bally's has paid the $40 million it pledged as part of its pitch for the $1.7 billion riverfront casino and resort at the Tribune publishing site in River West, as we see there. Mayor Lori Lightfoot said in a statement Thursday, the money, which was a major factor in making Bally's the front runner among 3 finalists, will support the city's pension costs. Bally's also has pledged to pay the city $4 million annually to that end and generate $200 million in yearly tax revenue. Now, Jamal Green talked about this at his announcement rally on Tuesday. This is not a decision that it should have been made and rushed through this administration. It should have been more time should have been given to it, and more consideration should have been given to it for the next mayor. And if Lightfoot was going to be the next mayor, fine. But this was rushed through. I think Lightfoot also felt that this was going to be like a Hail Mary. If she could do something here to, in her mind, elevate her legacy, it's going to help her win the election. And I don't think it is. I mean, I don't think this is anything anybody should run on and be proud of, shoving it through as quick as she did. Well, Guys, what are your thoughts?
She's clearly saw dollar signs. I mean, the headline just told us exactly what the deal was. Yeah. They needed $40 million up front because they wanted to deal with some city costs, probably pensions.
This is what Daley did with the parking meter deal. Remember? Yeah, they rushed it through, and they spent that money in a year. Gone. I don't even know where it all went.
Well, what it went to is, of course, their little vacation homes, whoever they want to bribe off at the state or federal level. I mean, that's what happened under Daley's administration. I mean, that's a fact. There's no argument about it.
This is the first down payment from the casino on the future of Chicago's pensions and a clear indication of the city's commitment to its hardworking public safety professionals, a mayor's office statement read. Oh, that's a statement. It's not Lightfoot, but all right. Mayor Lightfoot and her team look forward to building upon this success by bringing thousands of good-paying union jobs and a world-class entertainment district to the River West neighborhood. The mayor also looks forward to continuing to engage with community through the establishment of a casino community advisory council. Oh, now she wants the community advisory council. She didn't pay attention to any of the advisory councils before they rammed this down our throats. But now they're going to look forward to continuing to engage with the community that doesn't want it there. The city council.
I'm sorry, Jerry, but
that's okay. Go ahead.
I think you misread that. I think it's the Casino Community Advisory Council.
The mayor also looks forward to continuing to engage with community through the establishment of a casino community advisory council. Well, she's saying that she's intimating that that's going to be the community that's going to be advising them through this casino.
Yeah, it's
community advisory council. I'm sorry, maybe I'm sorry. Okay,
the community that lives at the casino, they're going to be advisory.
Got it. The city council approved the casino in a 41-7 vote in May, following what critics said was a rushed approval process. The permanent Bally's Casino at Tribune Publishing, 700 West Chicago Avenue, will include 3,400 slots, 173 table games, 500 hotel rooms and sea venue, 6 restaurants, a food hall, and 3 bars. The company has committed to $75 million to infrastructure improvement projects around the casino site, which includes projects ranging from synchronized traffic signals to reconstruction and widening of nearby roads. You want to bring scroll down that page to show the artist depiction, Ed?
Oh yeah,
the rendering.
Here it is. I'm just kidding.
Let's see it.
I know. It's a favorite.
There you go.
Oh boy.
That looks so disgusting and so lame. Look at because here's the thing. If you've been to a casino, they're depressing places to be. They're not fun and action packed. They're not happy go lucky. That is an ideal version of what it should look like. It looks like fun and calming. Casinos are places where you have addicts who gamble away their children's life savings. You have people who have these great ideas that somehow they're going to beat the house. What should be really seen in there is that river filled with beer cans and a dead body. There should be people there crying on this. There should be people there crying on the streets, like, right there, crying as their wives are beating the crap out of them. There should be maybe somebody trying to not jump out of one of those windows. And plus, it should have more of a seedy background with maybe some escorts on the side somewhere, saying, "Hey, stranger, want a good time?" Something like that. That is a real casino. That's how all casinos are. Now, of course, some casinos are more high class, but all the shady stuff is done behind closed doors. So there we go.
It's going to be a haven to desperation, I think, as you say, Kit. Yeah, everybody across the city that's desperate, that's unemployed, that is already wasting what little money they have on the lottery to try to hit it big because they're in such poor shape. Mm-hmm. It's just another way to prey upon Chicago's desperate, I think. Will it draw tourists? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but I think that the scene that you painted is what we're going to be seeing more of.
I mean, honestly, if you really want to go to a place where it's all the lights and sounds are really happening, you want to go to a casino, you go to Vegas. That's where you go.
Yeah.
Not Chicago.
Vegas is where you can. Vegas is a destination to just engage in that everywhere. This is a destination that the city is. It's a cash grab for the city, along with the speed cameras, the red light cameras, boots, the tickets, the overtaxation. That's all this is. It's just one other little tool in my toolkit, next to my. I'm not going to say it. My other big tool.
AG's calling me an expert. Listen, I've seen my fair share of people. I don't fuck around with casinos because you never beat the house, and I sure as hell ain't clever enough to do anything like that. But as being an expert, I've seen people lose it all. I've seen people who struggled with gambling addiction. It is not a pretty sight. So I don't want to say I'm an expert at it, but I've seen enough examples of it to where I know I'm staying away from a casino. I ain't playing around with that.
You know, everybody, I want to mention, as much as we like bringing in comments from the live chat, we do have super chats, and they could be as like affordable as maybe $1 if you have like a really great point to make to help cover our streaming costs and whatever it's going to cost me to get my laptop assessed and fixed so we don't have these technical problems all the time. So I just want to encourage everybody. You can support the show by sending a super chat, or should we take a little promotional break here, Ed?
Well, we certainly can, Jerry. And I'm happy to inform you that Chicago Corner is brought to you by Flavor Improving Mugs, the mugs that improve flavor. Do you have a mug that doesn't improve flavor? Well, what are you doing with that mug when you could have this mug? It improves flavor at least 20%, allegedly, according to our scientographists at the Chicago Corner Mug Plant. So check the link in the video below in the show. Was it the show description thing?
It's in the show notes.
Show notes.
Yeah.
And pick up a flavor-improving mug and other merchandise from Chicago Corner, Hardlands Media, and World Perspectives Radio Chicago.
Thank you for that, Ed. I hate commercial breaks, but I just figured like it doesn't hurt to remind everybody for everything we're doing over here. If you could toss a couple pennies or bucks towards us, it would certainly be helpful. All right, so let's go to the next story. I have not known of this site before. It's called Chicago Contrarian. And I visited their site, and, quite frankly, I really disagree with a lot of the stuff that they've got on there. It's pro-police stuff. It's just stuff that kind of like, I don't know, makes me uncomfortable. But they did share an op-ed that I kind of agreed with in regards to the Chicago Tribune defending Kim Foxx. And I want to share some of this op-ed because I'm kind of in agreement with them. I know that in California there had been a challenge to the one of the official prosecutors that they were able to recall, and there's been some rumblings of doing that here in Chicago, but the Tribune does not want to support that. The Tribune says to Chicago, "Don't mess with our Kim Foxx." Chicago Tribune reporter Megan Crepeau, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, made an important announcement last week about the future of Chicago media and the fate of the city following the successful recall of San Francisco District Attorney Chesa Boudin. Crepeau's announcement was simple. The Chicago media will not tolerate any kind of backlash against Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx that led to Boudin's ouster in San Francisco, no matter how severe the crime in Chicago becomes or how sinister the level of corruption is reached in Fox's office. Now, my first question is, what the fuck does Megan Crepeau or any Chicago media have to do with determining whether or not there's a vote of no confidence in our Cook County State's Attorney's office? Why should the media dictate whether or not the public wants to recall her if they think that there's a really deep amount of corruption in her office? An announcement necessarily couched in Crepeau and the Tribune's usual social justice and police accountability blather. Well, I think that, police accountability blather is actually very, very important. So this is where I disagree with the Chicago Contrarian. The article alleging misconduct against former Detective Reynaldo Guevara only betrays the depths into which the ideological fantasy land of both Crepeau and the Tribune have fallen and what has guided their journalists for the last 4 decades. The Guevara cases are not, in truth, narratives about police corruption. Rather, they are the greatest example of corruption among prosecutors serving in large American cities, often referred to as the Progressive Prosecutor Project by conservatives. According to Josh Hammer, it's a sprawling George Soros-funded national movement. I'm getting past the police corruption stuff because I think they're full of shit here. We do need to have police accountability. But I'm getting back to the Kim Foxx part of the article. In Chicago and under Kim Foxx, it is far more than just a refusal to prosecute. Here in Chicago, convicted killers are granted freedom by the likes of Foxx under the flimsiest excuses, even when Foxx's own top prosecutors state under oath they believe the offenders are guilty of the crimes. And we've seen this with so many of the recent violent offenders who are out on bail. The guy who set the Walking Man on fire, the guy who recently Machete Man, he was out on bail and he'd been
dude who blew up the subway car.
Right. Okay. So those are the kind of circumstances where we do need to raise questions into the prosecutor's office and lack of judgment or lack of following through to keep the actual violent offenders off the streets. I'm not talking about, cannabis violations, throwing them in jail for that. When you've got violent offenders, recurring violent offenders out on bail, back on the streets, and we see these types of things happen, I think that does lead to legitimate questions regarding the judgment at Kim Foxx's office. So that Crapo continues to doggedly push the validity of exonerations as a signal that no matter how dubious the circumstances surrounding the case or how questionable Foxx's conduct appears, Crapo and her pals in Chicago media will continue to have Foxx's back. In the latest nonsense forwarded by the Tribune, Crapo recounts in a June 9th article the claims of two men, brothers Juan and Rosendo Hernandez, alleging that they were framed for a 1997 murder orchestrated by ex-detective Reynaldo Guevara. It's an article so formulaic, Crapo and her Tribune comrades would have cut and pasted from virtually hundreds of others of the same subject. Both Juan and Rosendo Hernandez are hoping to be granted a new trial, even though the likelihood prosecutors would retry the case are slight. Should the Hernandez brothers be given a new trial, it would doubtlessly be awarded in no small measure to media pressure applied by Crapo and other figures in Chicago media. A primary reason for the possibility the Hernandez brothers could receive a new trial rests with Foxx's corruption. Unlike Foxx's predecessor, Anita Alvarez, who shrugged off exoneration claims as ridiculous and whose prosecutors believed the convicted men were guilty, Foxx began pushing the exoneration narratives against Guevara immediately after taking office. The truth about Guevara is that he is little more than another unfortunate former cop who was the latest target of the exoneration myth-making machine so central to Chicago journalism and progressivism. Okay, so I'm going to take a break from reading the article. And I've said this, I think, when we were over on Hardlands Media, Kit. The label of progressive has unfortunately been, I think, co-opted by people that aren't progressive or co-opted for non-progressive means. I think progressivism and social justice are important, but I think that they've been co-opted by people that take it to extremes that actually kind of betray what being a progressive and a reformer and someone interested in social justice are really about.
Yeah, well, the thing is, now that the word progressive has been accepted by the Democratic establishment, they're taking it and wanting to run it in however which way they can. They say, "Oh, I've been a progressive for a very long time," or "I'm a pragmatic progressive," or "I'm a progressive, but I'm also Democrat. I know how the system works." See, anything that's creative or outside the box, one of the two parties will take it. I mean, that's the reason why we don't have third parties all across this country. It's because you have the two-party system always absorbing something that either the Greens or Libertarians or any other previous third party has ever created. And any kind of movements that try to reform said Democrat or Republican Party is quickly co-opted by the establishment. Look at, and again, how many of these aldermen, Democratic related, because we're run by the Democratic Party here in this city, they're running with the word liberal or progressive or something like that to make sure they get their most diehard supporters to turn out to vote for them. But, to quote Jordan Sheridan, there's a lot of people who have their earmuffs, blinders, Well,
what stood out most to me about this article was that the Tribune and any media personalities in Chicago think it's up to them to determine whether or not Kim Foxx should be recalled. There's clearly been a lot of bad judgment in her office. It has nothing to do with the color of her skin. It has nothing to do with the fact she's a woman. She's made a lot of bad calls. And I think that she should be held accountable for that. That office under her leadership should be examined and should be questioned. So when I see the media come out and say they've got her back and they're going to defend her. It's like, that's not your job to defend Kim Foxx. Your job is to report on what's going on. Now, again, I don't agree with everything on the Chicago Contrarian website. They're very, very, they're making excuses for cops and not holding cops accountable. They're the other side of the extreme, which, it's interesting. We can look at a website like this and say, well, they're half right. But, and so the Chicago Contrarian, if they don't think it's the media's job, if they don't think it's the media's job to defend Kim Foxx the way they're claiming they are, why do they feel it's their job to defend cops and not hold them accountable? Everyone should be held accountable on both sides. And I think this is a big part of the problem.
Agreed.
Ed, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you guys on that. It's the article it wanted to jump into a lot of these weird assumptions that the right like to do, like you said, like calling people progressive when they're not, maybe not realizing that they're not progressive. Making assumptions on how everybody thinks that certain levels of accountability shouldn't happen because it feels like persecution to them. It's not. I mean, everybody should be held accountable if they're in a public office, some type of public position. They need to represent us in the right way. They need to, in Kim Foxx's situation, she needs to be accountable for the things that she's done and the mistakes that she's made. It's as simple as that.
Well, I recall a time where I was getting sick and tired of people using the word liberal as if it was a dirty word.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, great. Unfortunately, liberal really wasn't what it was supposed to be anymore. And then, with the emergence of Senator Sanders, I'm talking about 10 years ago, the word progressive was adopted. And it's like, great, I can adopt that because that's more in tune with my concept of what liberalism is that's been co-opted by the neoliberals on the left. And then suddenly progressive is now the new dirty word. It's like, what do we call ourselves? To represent, we're trying to vote for people that represent our ideals and our values. From the left.
We're still the left, but at the same time, call yourself an independent. Don't label yourself as anything else. Hey, you're independent. The Democrats want to say, no, you got to be Democrat or progressive or a liberal or all that other stuff. Republicans say, oh, you got to be conservative. You got to be a Republican. You have to be part of this right-wing ideology. And no, call yourself an independent. You owe nothing to the two-party system, and you can't reform it. And here's the thing. The Democratic Party, just like the Republican Party, can co-opt any kind of word they want. No matter what, they're still a bad product. That's what the two-party system is. And they're not going to convince me to vote Democrat or Republican. I'm not going to do that. I won't participate in a system that's rigged against me. And I don't care what they want to label themselves. Until I see change, they're not getting my vote. So I'll vote third party. I'll vote independent. So no matter what they call themselves, if you're still a Democrat, I'm going to think, okay, well, you're a corporate neoliberal sellout. And we see a lot of that here in the city of Chicago with our alderman, with our mayor, with some of these politicians that have been in power for decades and haven't done a damn thing to help us out. What do we owe them? Not our vote.
Well, I was very hopeful that the label progressive would be the third party, would be the label of a third party until the Democrats co-opted it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm all for what you're saying. Yeah, being independent and focusing more on third parties. I had really hoped that a progressive party would emerge, but now that word's been dragged through the filth and the mud, what do we got? The People's Party. I mean, I know we had the People's Party. That's something that was going to emerge. Really quickly, is People's Party the group that Jimmy Dore was going to ally himself with if he chooses to run?
Wait. Let's be very clear here. So we covered this on Hardlands Media.
Yeah, I'm just not remembering the details. I'm sorry.
The People's Party, here's
People's
the
Party.
detail. The People's Party is doing a draft Bernie Sanders. Now,
okay.
Sorry, I fucked that up. The People's Party is doing a draft Jimmy Dore.
Okay.
Jimmy Dore has not made an announcement whether he's going to run or not. This is just a draft. So Jimmy has yet to make an announcement. Jimmy has yet to really say he's going to run. This is something that the People's Party is doing, and they're asking him to run. Sort of like similar like with people were asking Jesse Ventura to run in the Green Party way back in 2020. So nothing's really happening yet. But we did get a statement from Jimmy Dore, and we read it on Harlan's Media.
I did see it. I just didn't remember the details if it was People's Party. So thanks for clarifying that. That is right now. It looks like People's Party is that third party that we're relying on might be able to pull it together and offer that third party option.
They've got their own problems too.
They got to sort their internal stuff out, and then they need to haul ass and start getting ballot access in the state. So I don't know how much we want to put in that.
Yeah.
Kathy says it in the live chat. The People's Party is dirty. That's what I've heard. So when I heard through Kit's reporting that they were looking to draft Jimmy Dore, I was like, but I haven't heard great things about people. Because Dore should run as an independent. The People's Party has too much baggage. Yeah, that might be what Jimmy should consider doing, but I'm not Jimmy. So, Ed, can you bring up this next story? It's about Nikita Brown.
The ABC7.
Yeah, she's filing a lawsuit.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Which is going to be linked with the story following it.
You want to watch the video?
We reported on this last year. This was about Nikita Brown, who was walking her dog at North Avenue Beach, and the cop that assaulted her, while he ignored all the other white people that were, along the lakefront there, also on the sidewalk, watching him assault her. Let's run the video since you can run it on that end.
So, Tanya, good morning. This is
wait. Let's pause it here for a second.
So many people across.
Yeah, go ahead.
By the way, to our viewers, especially if they're going to be showing the scene of the police officer assaulting her, you might want to look away. Viewer discretion is advised.
Yeah, it's upsetting.
Yeah, thanks for that, Kit.
So, Tanya, good morning. This incident quickly caught the attention of so many people across the city when it happened last summer, and the officer actually ended up resigning from the department back in May. Now that arraignment set for today, Bruce Diker was seen on video getting into a physical confrontation with Nikita Brown when she was walking her dog on the beach at the time. That video shows Diker grabbing Brown after telling her to leave the beach since it was closed. The officer is also seen on video telling others to leave the beach before approaching her, but attorneys for the woman believe the encounter was, quote, an obvious case of racial profiling. So, former CPD officer facing a couple charges of official misconduct and aggravated battery in a public way. Again, he'll enter a plea later today.
Okay, let's take that screen down. Now, the officer who grabbed her, as far as him resigning from the department, he resigned from the department before any disciplinary charges could be handed down. So that was calculated. He was charged last week in Cook County with felony aggravated battery and official misconduct in connection with the incident. In an initial court appearance in criminal court Thursday afternoon, Diker pleaded not guilty to the charges. Diker was released on his own recognizance by Cook County Judge William Gamboni. In my mind, the greatest threat that I thought of that night was that I could potentially be robbed, Brown told the Chicago Sun-Times, the woman, Nikita Brown. Brown's attorney, Michael Gallagher, said in the lawsuit, details the horrendous misconduct Officer Diker committed over the past 20 years on the force. The complaint is intended to not only hold him accountable, but the city of Chicago, the same city that has refused to hold officers like him accountable. That stops now. Now, Tim Grace, Diker's attorney, I saw some video on this, and again, I wish I could bring it up because I don't want to crash my system over here, but Diker's attorney was saying in the interview, well, she just thought that she was above the rules and above the law and could do what she wanted going out to the beach, walking her dog. It's like, and Chicago cops don't think that they're above the law in the ways that they just decide to assault people instead of acting, de-escalatory, if that's a word, and actually having some respect for clearly a woman who was of no threat to this guy, as you saw in the video with their dog. So Diker's attorney noted that Diker was on duty and giving a lawful order to leave the beach because it was closed at the time. Under police guidelines. Yeah, and she was. Under police, and a slight black woman being approached by a big, burly Chicago police officer in light of how we've seen police officers handle other nonviolent citizens across the city, I'd be freaked out if I were her too, and how she reacted. Under police guidelines, Diker would have been justified in doing much more to carry out an arrest, including a quote-unquote emergency takedown or a leg sweep, but he chose not to, since he did not want to risk injuring the 33-year-old Brown, Grace said. Can you imagine that's Diker's attorney's defense? That's his go-to. Diker didn't do enough. Diker should have assaulted her more because she wasn't following the rules, leaving the beach fast enough for him.
Okay, so wait. She was clearly leaving the beach. She has a dog. Obviously, a dog is going to take its time too, unless it's really active. She's walking her dog. So obviously got to factor that in. She's already leaving the location. He already, the order was already being obeyed. So, it's just ignorant on her part. It's ignorant on the lawyer's part. Yeah, the lawyer's part. I apologize. I apologize for that stutter.
Yeah.
But it's ignorant on this lawyer's part to say, oh, what that officer should have done more. Should have. He was overreacting. We all saw the video. Of again, this officer, assaulting her.
He was on a power trip.
Yeah. He would have been justified in doing much more to carry out an arrest, including an emergency takedown or a leg sweep. I know I said it a moment ago, but I'm just repeating it. That's what Diker's attorney claims he should have. He was within his authority to choose to do.
Well, don't you know, Jerry? You got to respect their authority harder. She wasn't respecting his authority hard enough.
Now, keep this in mind too. While Diker was focused on Brown, right? Remember what I said a moment ago? There are a lot of other people on the lakefront at that time, mostly white people. The incident was captured on multiple video recording devices, including Diker's body cam, a nearby surveillance camera, and a bystander's cell phone. Multiple video recording devices, which means that she wasn't the only one on the beach, that he decided this is how he was going to deal with it. Mm-hmm. Right? And again, this goes to the heart of he was racially profiling her. Brown told Diker that she was on her way to the exit immediately south of their location when Diker became agitated and said, "Exit the beach now. Why don't you people listen and do what you're told?"
What do you mean by saying you people?
According to the suit, Brown backed away in compliance with Diker's order and attempted to film the incident on her cell phone because she felt increasingly threatened, and rightfully so.
And that's the real thing that pissed him off. She was filming it.
Yep. "Please respect my space. It's COVID. You don't have a mask on," she told Diker.
I believe at this time they were telling everybody to wear masks outside. So
do you want to know what?
I mean, I don't think that's what we know is the reality for being outside now. But at the time, officers, I believe, were supposed to be wearing masks.
They were supposed to, but they weren't.
Yes, Kathy. Let's get Aaron on it. So, "Please respect my space. It's COVID. You don't have a mask on," she told Diker. "Respect your space? I'm about to put handcuffs on you. I don't need a mask," Diker responded. She pleaded with him, "Move away from me. I feel threatened," to which Diker responded, "Good." According to the suit, Brown had complied with Diker's order and walked 150 feet away from the beach when she panicked and stopped in order to call for help. Diker then grabbed Brown and repeatedly attempted to throw her down on the pavement. Over the next 70 seconds, Brown repeatedly screamed for Diker to let me go, according to the suit. Brown previously told the Sun-Times she believes the incident was racially motivated, and I think it was. But I don't think every officer out there. But I don't think every officer out there is bad, Brown said. "There's always a bad apple." Diker, who became, and we're going to talk about the bad apples in the next story in a moment, but let me finish some of this commentary. Diker, who became a Chicago cop in 1998, had at least 24 complaints against him, including 3 that were sustained, the lawsuit said. This is one of the cops that the Chicago Contrarian doesn't feel should be held accountable. in the same way that we feel Kim Fox should be held
Yeah,
accountable.
well, it's only 24 complaints, Jerry. I mean, I think you're persecuting him. I mean, there's some cops that have way more complaints than that, I'm assuming.
The most serious disciplinary measure he faced stemmed from a November 2008 off-duty domestic incident in New Tazewell, Tennessee. Diker was suspended for 20 days after he allegedly verbally abused and pointed his weapon at a victim and failed to follow lawful police orders. The city and CPD's failures to adequately investigate and discipline Officer Diker's brazen misconduct over the past 20 years. And Ed, can you cue up the next story as I finish this paragraph?
Yep.
Over the last 20 years, confirmed that he could act with impunity. Officer Diker's sense of impunity ultimately resulted in his belief that he could attack a defenseless young African-American woman who posed no threat and was complying with his offers, the lawsuit stated. Let's bring up that next story. And this comes to us from WTTW. Heather Sharon. Chicago police officers guilty of misconduct face inconsistent, unfair discipline, says a watchdog. Maybe the Chicago Contrarian should consider this. Chicago police officers found to have committed misconduct face inconsistent and unfair discipline, according to an audit released Thursday by the city's watchdog. Officers accused of misconduct are typically investigated by the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, known as COPA, or the Bureau of Internal Affairs. The Chicago Police Board determines the ultimate punishment in serious cases of misconduct and when the superintendent disagrees with COPA's recommended punishment. However, that quote-unquote disciplinary process is unpredictable for involved members and risks arbitrary outcomes, according to the first full audit issued by Inspector General Deborah Witzberg. While the investigating and reviewing agencies must consider different facts in each disciplinary case, they ought to follow consistent and fair procedures to guide that consideration, according to the audit. Officials charged with determining the appropriate discipline for officers who have been found responsible for misconduct do not have clear guidance on how they should consider aggravating and mitigating factors in making punishment recommendations, which leads to decisions that vary widely across investigations and may therefore be inconsistent and unfair, according to the audit. I think maybe some of these cops should be swept to the ground, like the other cop's attorney said, and tossed down. The rules governing COPA's recommendations contain internally contradictory and outdated language, while the police board does not have any formal policies in place at all to ensure that its determinations of final discipline are made consistently and fairly across all cases it considers. Witzberg, who conducted much of the audit in her previous role as the Deputy Inspector General for Public Safety, before replacing former Inspector General Joseph Ferguson, urged the Chicago Police Department, COPA, and the police board to, quote, work in coordination to develop a single standardized list of aggravating and mitigating factors to guide discipline recommendations. What the fuck's taking so long? While Chicago Police Department leaders agreed to craft that list with the input of the unions that represent why should the unions have any say in this? Why should the police union have any say in how you discipline officers that are costing the city millions of dollars in lawsuits instead of taking that money out of their pensions or forcing them to have insurance policies to practice police work in the city of Chicago? It's dependent on the input of the police union. COPA officials told the Inspector General that it would be more realistic for all three agencies to thoroughly document the factors considered in disciplinary recommendations, and the police board said participating in such an effort would undermine the board's impartiality. An effort by former Mayor Rahm Emanuel's administration in 2017 to create a matrix to standardize disciplinary recommendations for officers found to have committed misconduct was challenged by the Fraternal Order of Police. After an administrative law judge sided with the union in 2018, city officials dropped the effort. The administration of Mayor Lori Lightfoot is still negotiating changes to how Chicago police officers are disciplined and held accountable for misconduct as part of the second phase of contract negotiations. Why should this have anything to do with their contracts? They need to be held accountable. They don't. The contract negotiated by the union that represents supervision created a discipline matrix. This is just all red tape bullshit, guys. What else is new?
Well, again, police corruption at its finest. You think Lightfoot's going to do anything about it? No. We think this anyone in your administration is going to do anything about it? No, because you have a mayor that doesn't give a damn. You have a mayor that's willing to, again, put more city resources into the Chicago Police Department. Whereas when you have people like Jamal Green, who's running to actually make Chicago better, he's saying, no, we need to redistribute our resources to other avenues to actually lower crime and actually build a better future for the residents in the city of Chicago. But yet he gets smeared in that ridiculous interview that we played earlier in the episode. And then, of course, now we're seeing more of the same. Nothing is fundamentally changing. All these policies that we're seeing by our city government, it's still continuing on as though Rahm Emanuel and even Old Man Daley never left. Here's the important thing that needs to happen. Chicagoans need to step up and start demanding more from this city government, because if we allow this still to continue on, we're going to see, as always, more incidents of abuse of power like this.
I want to say, Ed, if you can copy Hop to Copper's comment here, Fraternal Order of Police should foot the legal bill, damages, and court fees. That goes into the Chicago Corner Manifesto. Hey, if the union wants to make this a part of contract negotiations, then the union can foot the bill for the legal costs, damages, and court fees, and all those settlements that are paid out. I think that would be a fair compromise. If the union feels that they have a say in how to hold the cops accountable, the city should say, great, then why don't you guys commit to this to make sure that your members actually act within the law themselves?
Agreed.
Yeah, I think so. Catanzara announced he was running, but we haven't seen anything official. I don't think he's filed any paperwork regarding that. All right. You know what? I feel like I want to share with my audience here. I'm not firing on all cylinders because I'm so freaked up on my computer tonight. I promise you all, next week, I'm going to have some time. I'm going to take the laptop in. We're not going to have these tech issues that kind of throw my my momentum off as I'm like thinking, oh my God, my screen's running a little slow. Am I going to lose my signal here? But we're almost at the end of the broadcast.
Are we doing the pool story next, Jerry?
Yeah. Yep. The pool story. This is interesting to me because we were reporting last year on how the Chicago Park District was covering up all these sexual assaults that were being committed within the Park District, primarily by lifeguards. I don't know that there's any kind of connection here, but it just struck me as being interesting. They're having a hard time finding lifeguards now. I don't know why.
They probably don't pay them enough.
That too. Okay, that makes sense. This comes from Block Club Chicago. The district pushed back the opening date for the city's 77 indoor and outdoor pools from June 24th to at least July 5th because they are struggling to recruit enough lifeguards. There are enough lifeguards in place monitoring Chicago's beaches, but not to oversee this district's 77 indoor and outdoor pools, which are a primary form of summer recreation for many neighbors. The district planned to open pools June 24th, but it postponed until July 5th, according to a statement. The district recently boosted its cash bonus and other incentives to try to attract more lifeguards. All right, well, that kind of addresses what you just mentioned, Ed. That might not be an issue. But a Sun-Times report this week showed 91% of those seasonal lifeguard positions were still unfilled, and 73% of all lifeguard positions district-wide are vacant. I'm going to go out on a limb here. Okay, I'm speculating. But perhaps they have all those vacancies because they had to remove or make sure that lifeguards that were engaged in sexual assault or improper actions on the job had to vacate their positions, and maybe that's why they've got all these vacancies. I don't know. It's interesting that suddenly there's
$600 retention bonus, Jerry.
$600. Come on, wait a minute. So here's again, there was a lack of accountability. Any kind of there was lack of any kind of programming or assurance to make sure that all the workers were to be safe, because there's again so many reports of these assaults taking place. Why would anyone in their right mind want to go back and assume that everything has changed? People have a right to be as critical.
Yeah, you make a good point there. Yeah. Maybe the vacancies are because people. That's a very good point. Don't think anything has changed. Yeah.
How after for so long it's been swept aside or made hush?
Yeah.
Why would anyone want to go to that? Even if they're brand new, they probably a friend who worked with Chicago Parks was like, "Hey, look, hey, heads up. There's a long history there. There needs to be a further investigation and due process needs to take place to ensure that this never happens again." Because why would you want to go there when you know there's so many uncertainties?
Yeah.
AG asked, "What is Dazel Hasselhoff is doing?" Well, probably nothing.
Opening pools on July 5th will allow the district additional time to recruit and implement a strategy that provides pool resources to as many communities as possible this summer. Park District spokesperson Michelle Lemon said in a statement, "We continue to attract applicants daily and need time to complete the required testing and certification and onboard new hires. Over the next week, we will continue to evaluate staffing numbers to determine a plan for summer pool operations." The city's pools are supposed to open within days, but the Park District is facing a whopping number of vacant lifeguard positions while officials offer more incentives to get those staffers in place, as Ed just shared on Twitter. $600 signing bonuses, up from $500, and dropping the Chicago residency requirements for candidates, officials said in a news release Wednesday. Lifeguards who end the summer with positive job performance reviews will also be considered for year-round jobs, officials said. The district also will provide a $500 bonus to current employees who refer someone who successfully signs up for the lifeguard position, according to the Park District. Chicago families rely on our park programs during the summer, so we are not giving up. We need lifeguards now and are offering great incentives to anyone who is a strong swimmer and interested in keeping the public safe.
They still don't say how much they pay.
What, they just mentioned the signing bonus? What do they?
A $600 retention bonus, which is like, no.
Yeah,
make
but
that higher.
How much hourly are they making here?
Doesn't say.
You know, I mean, these are. I mean, come on. I mean, that's got to be part of it.
And even as the Park District pleads for, can we look that up, Ed? See if there's anywhere that mentions that while I finish the article.
Yeah, I'll see.
That'd be an interesting. Yeah. I think that's an interesting detail. That's not in this article. And even as the Park District pleads for more lifeguards, young people newly certified for the job reported a botched registration process.
I found it. $15.88 an hour.
Oh boy. So, and the $600 basically raises it to a little over $17 an hour.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, come on, you should be. I mean, they're in charge of.
I bet those Park District board members aren't making a minimum wage. What do you think?
I mean, at the very least, these kids should be making at least $20 an hour doing a lifeguard job, and they probably should be making more than that. Because
their responsibility is to save lives.
Yes. Plus, they need to be they got to be trained in CPR, and they got to
first aid,
strong swimmers, and there's such a disconnect in city government, in just jobs and small businesses and everybody not realizing you got to pay these people so they can afford to live. I mean, even if it's a part-time job, you should still be paying a living hourly wage.
So,
especially when they're responsible for people's lives. That's the other thing is like, oh, it's just a summer job. They're going to get a tan. They're going to sit out there. These young kids, it's a part-time job. They should be lucky they're doing something in the summer. Yeah. When you're out in the water and you're drowning and you're hoping one of those young kids knows life-saving procedures to like drag you out of the water and perform CPR on you. I'm sorry. This is in a swimming pool, although it extends to the beaches also. I know that there's staff for the beaches. But that's an integral part of their jobs that people look past. They think it's just like a little glamour job, and it's not.
Right. Okay. So, this Park District hourly pay ranges from approximately $15 per hour for recreational leader to $21 per hour for physical instructor. The average Chicago Park District salary ranges from approximately $58,469 per year. For physical instructor, $79,470 per year for a project manager.
So the article,
I dropped a link to the application page for the Park District, Jerry, in case anybody's interested in this job. I mean, they may, it's not paying a lot of money, but if you got the skills and you need some extra cash and you got the time to help save people's lives at the pool.
Young people newly certified for the job reported a botched registration process at Northern Ireland this month in which candidates were turned away, put on a wait list, or not given positions at their neighborhood pools and beaches. So the parks dropped the ball too. A park district spokesperson later said 76 of those 100 candidates finished their onboarding process. Seasonal lifeguards must be at least 16, fully vaccinated, pass a skills test, and be properly certified. And as Ed said, there's a link there for anybody who wants to apply. This is nuts. I have my Chrome and my Safari open, and my system resources are like 50% throttled.
And
Jerry,
why did they wait so long to try to tell people that they needed to hire lifeguards?
Yeah.
Why are they waiting till it is pretty much summer, right?
Yeah, it's
like
we're in mid-June. We're in mid-June.
Yeah.
There's gonna be July and August. After that, it's gonna be done. Maybe we'll have a hot September or something like that, but I really doubt that. It'll be done by then.
IndependentVoterParty.org says some lifeguards in California make over $100,000. Maybe ours just went for better employment opportunities.
True for that. Hey Jerry, let's make a promise. When you get your new laptop or system set up, let's purposely destroy this older system that's giving you so many headaches.
Well, it's, you know what, Kit? It's not. This is a great laptop. I think what's happening is after everything that I've done, resetting PRAM, I think it's a battery issue. I think what's happening is, and I've read this online, is that if your computer senses your battery's overheating, it will redirect system resources. And I had the battery replaced like 2 or 3 years ago, and it's an older computer. It might be a logic board issue, or it might be a battery. I'm not going to throw this guy out the window because it's a good computer. It's just the activity monitor is getting throttled because something is not processing properly. And once that's addressed by a professional at the Mac store or the Mac shop who knows how to fix it, I think we'll be in good shape. It's just it's weird, Kit, because it's like earlier today, everything was running fine. I did no, and I'm thinking, and for the past 2 days, I've been like testing things, being like, oh, sometimes it happens every couple days, but it looks like it's good. Whatever I did probably fixed it. And then when I open up the Chrome and start getting stuff ready for the show, suddenly the activity monitor goes haywire. So we'll figure it out. But we're at our last story. Ed, can you bring this one up?
Yeah. One moment, please. Where is it?
Yeah, Kathy Powers. I am checking my task manager, and what's eating up my resources is my kernel task. That's it. It's at it's 300% of my CPU. And the only things that are open right now, my dear, are Google Chrome and Safari. And I'm running a MacBook Pro with nothing else open. And I rebooted the system before the show started. And before I rebooted, Kathy, just really quickly, I had this computer on since last night, all through this afternoon, no problems. It's when I started getting ready for the show, suddenly the kernel task goes haywire, and it's like 300%, sucking up 50% of my system resources. So we'll figure it out. But here's our feel-good story of the night. And I remember when this happened during the riots a couple of years ago, it broke my heart because this place has been downtown since 1899.
Yep, and I like to also share something too. In the early days of Harlan's Media, I actually got some of our first field equipment there.
It's a family-owned business, and that looters would go do what they did to begin with, let alone decide they were going to target this. This is like a loved institution downtown under the tracks. I think it's under Randolph Street. No, not Randolph Street.
It's over there by Adams and Wabash.
Yeah, Wabash. Yeah. So this comes to us from Melody Mercado at Block Club Chicago. Can you scroll the picture up, Ed? I love their sign. It's been there since 1899. Central Camera reopens 122-year-old loop shop after 2020 fire lootings. I'm so happy this place is still here. The store was destroyed in May of 2020 in the unrest after police killed George Floyd. Almost 2 years later, it's back open thanks to $230,000 in donations from Chicagoans. Good on you, Chicago. Don Flesh is known for passing out little snacks to his customers. Grab a chocolate, Flesh reminds them on their way out. Now the 73-year-old is back in action behind the counter at General Camera's store, which reopened at 230 South Wabash. It's under the tracks on Wabash. In March, after being looted and burned down during 2020 civil unrest after police murdered George Floyd in Minneapolis. First opened in 1899 by Flesh's grandfather, the store attracts shoppers from around the world looking for unique cameras and in-person service. Scroll to that second picture, Ed. The May 2020 fire, which started in the basement, took about 30 firefighters and 6 hours to put out. Only about 50 items were salvageable out of the shop's collection of 10,000 items.
Oh, no.
Antique stuff, too, guys. All right?
Son of a bitch. Come on.
I'm sure they had insurance, but that's not going to cover all that old stuff. It was a total loss, but it was no comparison to the loss of Floyd's life and the countless other Black lives lost, Fletch said at the time. Wow.
A good man.
Yeah.
Good man. But seriously, that no one needed to loot that camera store, okay?
No. After the smoke cleared, Fletch and his staff almost immediately started selling what was left on the sidewalk in front of the shop. They eventually moved the shop into a temporary space next door. Chicagoans rallied around Central Camera staff, donating nearly $230,000 to a GoFundMe campaign organized by Fletcher's daughter and an employee. The money helped Fletch rebuild the shop and its inventory. Fletch remembers a donation of $1,899 commemorating the year the business was founded. As the donations poured in, he was brought to tears, he said. Let's get to that picture of Mr. Fletch. He said he hopes one day he can personally thank each person who donated. Wow was the most common word I used in the last year, and I still use it. It's become my mantra, Fletch said. Our store is like a museum, a history of photography. Hanging on the shop's newly painted white walls are photos from Chicago's history alongside shots of the shop's old interior. Man, I feel bad they lost that old interior.
Yeah, that's something that cannot be replaced. That's gone. God damn it, man. No one had to do that. That was wrong. All the people who participated in that, you were wrong for doing that. It's a Central Camera.
2 photographs of Fletch's father and the grandfather were destroyed in the fire, but they've been replaced by other photos the family was able to salvage and bring in from Fletch's home. Okay. Fletch has served generations of customers, some who came through the shop when it was run by his father. Central Camera has had 3 locations. The first in 1899 at 31 East Adams Street. It relocated inside the Palmer House around 1907, and the business moved to its current location in 1929. Our store is like a museum, a history of photography, Fletch said. Over the years, I've waited on so many people that are second, third, and fourth generation customers, which is really fun. I was stunned to hear about what had happened, but I'm so happy that this place is still here and to still have a resource like this, Timothy Hoare, a Hyde Park resident, said. So, yeah, that's good news. They're open 10 to 3 p.m. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. So that's.
I think this is a good story
good
to end
news.
it on.
I'm glad we're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what? With everything, I'm gonna see if I can reach out to them. See if we can have them on for Chicago Corner Can TV. Let me see if I can get that.
That would be a great interview. Yeah.
Let's make that happen. I'm gonna do everything I can to try and make that happen to get them as a guest. Because for those of you who don't know, Chicago Corner Can TV, we got an awesome guest lined up. I can't say the name yet, but maybe we'll announce it next week on Friday's show. Maybe.
And when does our first episode drop on Can TV? I think it's coming up, isn't it? Or is it end of June?
At the end of the this week coming up.
Okay, and end of this week. Okay, so I guess we can mention it. Kira can mention it next Tuesday, and we can also mention it next week sometime.
Absolutely, I'll be more. You know what I'll do over the weekend? I'll send you and Kira the links for when the shows premiere.
Cool.
All right,
guys. Thanks for joining tonight, Kit and Ed, and everybody in the live chat. Sorry we didn't have as many bells and whistles, Kathy, Nope, John. We don't want to crash things on this end, but we will be back next Tuesday. Kira will be returning. I will be co-hosting next week with Kit. Co-hosting with you next Tuesday at Chicago Corner.
Yeah, next
my
Tuesday.
Co-hosting is next week my solo.
No, that's in July. That's in July. Okay. July 5th. Okay.
So I'll be joining Kit on Chicago Corner next Tuesday. We're going to record a Can TV episode. Kira will hold down the show here Tuesday on YouTube. I will be back next Friday. Anything you guys want to share before we end the show?
I'm really excited with the stuff that we're doing here at the studio. And by the way, we do have our open house happening on June 25th. Tickets are free, so be sure to check that out on 99perspectives.tv. There's a lot that's happening here at our studio, and we hope to see more people here join us.
Edward?
Hope everybody has a happy Juneteenth this Sunday, and if you like your father, wish him a happy Father's Day on Sunday as well. Do something nice and be good to each other, because a lot of other people aren't.
Yeah. That reminds me, Father's Day is coming up this weekend. So yeah, I hope everybody has a good Father's Day. I'm going to be going out with my family on Sunday, treating my dad. Luckily, he's still with us. He's 86 years old, and you would never know it. So I'm glad to give a little shout out to my dad tonight before we spend Sunday together for Father's Day. And all right, guys, thanks for joining me tonight. And to everybody else in the live chat, I want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank you all for participating in tonight's show. And please, as we go into the weekend, stay safe, take care of each other, watch out, be vigilant, and remember, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner, sometimes with a screwed up computer, but at least we get the job done. So everyone, thanks for joining us tonight, and stay safe. We'll see you next week.